Hi guys. So what is a natural walking gait? So today I wanted to talk a little bit about what might be considered normal for walking versus what is more instinctual and natural for a human being. And what are some of the differences? And over the next few videos, I'd like to build a few of the components of your gait that we can work on and change to be more health-inducing. So in normal society today, we tend to, and even a lot of exercise professionals and even series like Alexander Technique even describes walking as a series of falls, of standing on one leg and then controlled as you fall forward. And it looks a little bit like this. I'm going to exaggerate one aspect of it. See it a little bit like that? Let's see from the side. If I can do it. I'm trying to exaggerate, but it's a little bit like how models are trained to walk with this sort of sway in the hips. And it's not really a sway, it really is a fall. It's standing on one leg, but as soon as the weight comes off the other leg and it reaches forward, the strength isn't there, the balance isn't there to hold that hip in place, and so there's a kind of a tendency to fall into it. And this does a number of things. Your legs start to cross the center line, your knees bend. It can put a lot of tension through your knees, your lower back, and over time, the falling forward even creates a little more rounding of your spine. So that's why it might be a normal thing that we do, but it's not entirely natural. As models go, it might be sexier. You get all these curves that you see, but it isn't the most health-inducing. So what is the difference between that? The difference of a more natural, instinctual walking gait is more posteriorly driven, which we'll get into later, but it is the ability to have a series instead of falls, but a series of one-legged balances. So are you able to stand on one leg, and rather than letting the hip, the lifted leg collapse down, use the standing leg to drive down into the floor and stay stable so that now I have space to keep my legs straight and swing that leg through. And so the exercise I'd like to build here is the hip list. And it's just simply being able to stand on one leg. Use your standing leg, you're going to use these lateral hip muscles and drive your pelvis down towards your thigh bone. We're really just pushing your heel to the floor. And as you push down, it tilts the pelvis or lists the pelvis so one side rises higher than the other. Not so much using the waist. I'm not trying to hike my hip up to my ribs, but I'm using the standing leg for that effort. And that's an exercise to really play with. It really is the foundation for balance, for walking, and for all sorts of things where you want to control your hip motion. So I would just play with that and try to find some repetitions. Now, there's another part of it that you may do is you could do that on the floor, but it's also nice to have a little elevation so you can get more range of motion in this exercise and develop more control. So if you stand on something like a yoga block, a book, something of that sort, just to come a little bit off the ground, could you find your balance, use the standing leg and drive down to make the other hip rise, and then let it eccentrically lower towards the floor with control and then return. Notice I'm not trying to tilt my body at all. I'm not leaning to the side so much as I am pressing down through the whole leg and heel and then letting it relax, the other leg relax towards the floor and going up and down a number of times. I would practice that as much as possible. You can do that. This is an easy one. You can practice anywhere you are, whether you're waiting for the bus, standing in line somewhere, standing at your kitchen sink. And the more you practice, the more that all of balance becomes easier. And then eventually even your walking starts to change. So we'll continue on with other parts of the gait cycle in the next few videos. But play with that one first, and I hope you have fun with that. All right, have a good week.